Hi, this is CAD CAM Lessons channel, and in this video I want to inform you that FreeCAD 1.0 is now available. To download this version, go to the freecad.org website, we click the Download Now button, and we have access to the stable version of FreeCAD 1.0. We can download this version for Windows, Mac, and Linux. As for Windows, we can download the installation file and install this version, or we can download the zipped archive and run FreeCAD without installing it. The FreeCAD 1.0 version has been long awaited, as many things have been improved and fixed in this version. One of the important fixes is related to the improvement of the feature naming bug. This was known as the topological naming problem. It meant that when creating a 3D model, if we wanted to edit the shape of a sketch from an earlier stage, the subsequent stages of the model could become corrupted. I will show you this with an example. I will run FreeCAD version 0.21, which is the previous version before 1.0. And this is the previous version. As for the interface, not much has changed here. If, for example, you want to go through some training or tutorials that were prepared in the previous version, it will also be possible to replicate that in version 1.0. There are minor differences, but you can definitely get the hang of it very easily. Now, I will create a new project in the Part Design module. I will create a sketch on the XY plane. I will create a rectangle here, a very simple shape. Okay. I close the sketch. Now I will add an extrusion of 10 millimeters. Okay, and now I will create another sketch on this face. Add reference geometry and create another rectangle. Note that as I draw the rectangle, I am simply creating that geometry. In version 1.0, we can now add dimensions while creating the geometry, and this is also a significant improvement, and I'll show that shortly. Now I will add another extrusion here. Okay, and I will create another sketch on this face. Here, reference geometry, and I will create another rectangle. Okay, I close the sketch and add another extrusion of 10 millimeters. So, if we create a model step by step and do not change anything in the previous stages, everything works correctly, nothing should get misaligned. But if I wanted to change the shape of the first sketch earlier, pay attention to the fact that this is the first operation. After this operation, 2 more stages were created, and I edit the sketch of the first operation. If we only changed the dimensions of the sketch, did not delete any geometry or added anything, everything worked, nothing happened here. But if we change the shape of the geometry, for example, if I create something like this and trim parts of the geometry, then we already have errors here. The changes are not reflected in the model. Here, there is simply a warning that something is wrong. Okay, here I will press Ctrl Z. Okay, I returned to that stage. I will make some changes to this sketch again. For example, I will just add a circle. I close the sketch and now something like this happened. The entire model simply got misaligned, and something like that was unacceptable in previous versions of FreeCAD. Now I will run FreeCAD version 1.0. Okay, I have FreeCAD version 1.0 running. At first glance, the start page looks different. From this level, we can also start a project in different modules, but we can also select the Part Design module and start a new project. It works exactly the same way as in the previous version, and we also add a sketch on the XY plane in the same way. And here I will create a rectangle. What you can pay attention to is that during the creation of geometry, we can specify the dimensions of that geometry. It is really very convenient. It works very nicely. Now I will do the same project as in the previous version. I will not be adding dimensions. I create a rectangle, close the sketch, and add an extrusion of 10 millimeters. I will create another sketch on this face, add reference geometry here in the same way and create another rectangle. I close the sketch, add an extrusion. Okay, and again I create another sketch and create another rectangle. As you can see, the interface does not differ significantly from the previous version. And as I mentioned earlier, if you want to learn this version based on tutorials that were created in previous versions, it should be possible. It should not be complicated. Most options are rather in the same place. There are minor differences regarding dimensions and constraints, but I think one can easily figure that out without any problem. Here I close this sketch and add another extrusion. Okay, and now I will do the same as before. That is, edit the first sketch. At first I will just change the dimension of this sketch, I close it, and everything works correctly here. Now I will go back to editing this sketch, and just like before, I will create a circle in this corner and trim the geometry here. First, I will trim a segment of the circle. Here, as you can see, the entire circle has been trimmed, but I will now press Ctrl Z. It looks like this, but if we trim something and the drawing appears to be trimmed too much, usually when we press Ctrl Z, we return to the point where that trimming looks correct. I close the sketch and now everything works correctly on this model. In this version, we can indeed make such changes. I will edit this sketch again and draw, for example, a circle here. I close the sketch and a hole based on that circle has been created here. Next, I can edit this sketch. I will create another geometry here. I will create such a rectangle and I will also use the trimming function. I will trim this line and this line. Close the sketch, and the changes have been applied to the model. The model did not crash, and everything works correctly here. Of course, there may be some specific situations where the model might crash and something might not work. However, compared to previous versions of FreeCAD, what has been done in version FreeCAD 1.0 is indeed a significant advancement. In my opinion, FreeCAD can already be a solid proposition for many users. I think that for many users, FreeCAD can also replace other 3D CAD systems because, if you didn't know, FreeCAD is fully free. We can freely use this system, even for paid projects. FreeCAD runs locally on our computer. We do not need an internet connection. We do everything locally. We are not working in any cloud, only locally on the computer. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to this channel.